Good afternoon. Thank you all very much for joining me today. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Lottie Jones. I'm a registered nutritionist and I work for ESS as a nutrition and wellbeing officer. So you've all joined today, hopefully hoping to learn a bit more about vitamins and minerals. So we'll be looking at their essential role within the body, including their functions, their sources, so how we can get them into our bodies, and also their impact on overall health. So just a brief kind of run through in a bit more detail. So I'll start with what are micronutrients, so understanding a bit about vitamins and minerals. Then we'll be looking at both in a bit more detail. So vitamins are broken down into fat and water soluble, and then we have macro and trace minerals. We'll also learn a bit about what can happen if we eat too much of these or not enough. And then we'll understand a bit more about how we can manage our diet using the Eat Well guide to meet our needs and also make sure that we're getting enough of these vitamins and minerals. And I'll talk a little bit about possible supplementation as well. And then lastly, there's some takeaway tips for you to add into your lifestyle to make sure that you're getting what your body needs. So just to start with, what are micronutrients? So micronutrients are vitamins and minerals which are needed by the body in very, very small amounts. However, despite their really small amount, they play a very critical role in determining how healthy our body will be. The majority of our micronutrients we can get from plants, and eating a variety of different colours can help you have a varied nutrient intake. For example, orange foods tend to be high in vitamin A. Red foods tend to be high in vitamin C. Green foods tend to be a good source of vitamin K and also iron. And purple foods have good amounts of antioxidants. So essentially, by eating a rainbow of different types of fruits and vegetables and foods, we should hopefully be able to get all the vitamins and minerals that we need. So what are vitamins? Vitamins are the nutrients that we obtain from the foods we eat to ensure our ideal health and also to help prevent nutritional deficiencies. So this is when we're not eating enough. The majority of people who have a healthy, balanced lifestyle and healthy, balanced diet should be able to get all the vitamins they need from their diet. However, if you follow a plant-based diet, there might be a couple of vitamins that you struggle to get, and I'll talk about the steps you can take to make sure that you prevent deficiencies. So there are two types of vitamins. You have fat-soluble and water-soluble. So firstly, we will talk about fat-soluble vitamins. So these are A, D, E, and K. So I like to remember it as FADE. That's quite a good way to remember that those are your fat-soluble vitamins. And these tend to accumulate within the body. So they're not actually needed in our diet every day. And they can be stored in our fatty tissues and also in the liver. Fat-soluble vitamins, so this means that they use dietary fat for absorption. So vitamin A is the first one we'll look at. So I've put the recommendations in brackets. I won't read them out for all of them, but they're just on the screen in case you're interested. And then I've got the sources, and then I've also got an example to kind of put it into terms how much you'd need to be eating. So vitamin A is an antioxidant. So antioxidants help to protect cells from free radicals and also from aging. And they can also help to reduce cell damage. So that's why they'll help to reduce or help with cell renewal and repair. However, excess of vitamin A can be harmful in pregnancy. So that's just one thing to look out for. I mentioned vitamin A. Orange foods are a good source. So no surprise that carrots and sweet potatoes are on there. And about 100 grams of sweet potato contains 655 micrograms. So for a woman, that's about your daily amount. So that's just to kind of put that into perspective. Next, we have vitamin E, which is also an antioxidant and can help the effects of reduce the effects of skin aging and also cancer. Almonds and avocados are a good source of this. So a small avocado, about 140 grams, would contain a woman's daily requirement there. Next, we have vitamin D. So this is also known as the sunshine vitamin, and it's the only hormone we can produce in our bodies with sunlight. Vitamin D is really important for our bone health, so making sure that our bones stay strong, and also can help with calcium absorption. I'll talk a bit more about calcium later on, but calcium is also important for the growth and maintenance of our bones. Sources include things like egg yolks, red meat, oily fish, and fortified foods. And 4 to 5 egg yolks would be over your daily amount. Obviously, you wouldn't necessarily eat 4 to 5 egg yolks a day. It's just to kind of, sometimes these numbers like micrograms and milligrams can all be a bit overwhelming. So I thought putting it into the context of food just helps you understand a bit more. So yes, that's vitamin D. Then next we have vitamin K. So vitamin K is important for wound healing and also blood clotting. If you remember from the first slide, I said that green foods are often high in vitamin K and also iron. So this is a good example of green leafy veg. Also some cereal grains and vegetable oil. There is also some evidence which links vitamin K to bone health as well. So here we have about 100 grams of peas is 39 micrograms, and vitamin K allowance is kind of measured in body weight. So you want 1 microgram per kilogram of body weight. So if you're 60 kilos, you'd need 60 micrograms. Next, we go on to water-soluble vitamins. So these are all of our B vitamins and also vitamin C. These are very easily lost through bodily fluids and also in cooking. So these are not stored in the body, which is why we require regular intake. And if we eat too much of them, so in excess of our requirement, it's usually excreted through our urine. So there's no point in eating more than you need because essentially it will just be wasted. So for our B vitamins, I've not gone into every single one because there's lots of them, but these are B vitamins B1 to B12. They're really important for our energy metabolism. So essentially breaking down our food and helping us give us energy. And they can also help to keep our nervous system healthy. Vitamin B9 is particularly important during pregnancy as it can help with brain and spinal cord development in unborn babies. And B12 is only found in animal products. So I mentioned that if you follow a plant-based diet, there may be some vitamins that you need to look especially hard to get in your diet, and B12 is one of those. So sometimes supplementation is needed, but I will talk a bit more about that later on. Good sources of B vitamins include breakfast cereals. A lot of breakfast cereals are fortified with these now, and also bread, eggs, meat, and fish. One thing to note about B vitamins is they may be listed as B1, B2, B3, but they also have other names as well. So you've got thiamine, niacin, riboflavin. So that's something to look out for on especially breakfast cereals where they're fortified. It might be listed with the actual name rather than just B1 or B2. Then we have vitamin C. So I'm sure this is a vitamin that we're all aware of. It's really good for immune support. So often when people are sick, you're told to have a glass of orange juice and make sure you're eating your oranges. It's also important for collagen production and can help maintain healthy skin and blood vessels. A 100 ml glass of orange juice will provide you with a daily allowance. You can also get it from sources such as peppers, broccoli, and bananas as well. So that was vitamins, and now we will look a bit into minerals a bit more closely. So minerals are inorganic chemicals which are found in soil, rock, and also in water. And they are absorbed by the environment, by plants, and as they grow, and then they can be eaten by animals. So that's then how we can end up ingesting them. You have your macro minerals. So here are some examples. I've not written them all down. These are just some of the key ones: calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, sulfur, sodium, potassium, and chloride. Then we have trace minerals, so these are needed in even smaller amounts than the macro minerals, and these include iron, zinc, iodine, selenium, copper, manganese, and fluoride. So looking at the macro minerals first, calcium, mentioned this one already, but it's really important for bone and teeth health, and it's also needed for our nervous system, muscles, and the heart. Good sources of this include dairy products, so things like milk and yogurt, and also spinach. Next, we have potassium, which is really important for blood pressure control, fluid balance, and muscles, and also nerve function. Bananas are a really good source of this, spinach as well, potatoes, and apricots. Phosphorus is another mineral which can help with building strong bones and also helps with releasing energy from food. And sources of this are red meat, dairy, fish, poultry, oats, and bread. As you can see, as we go along, a lot of foods contain lots of different minerals, which is why if you eat a broad, balanced diet, you should be getting enough of each one. Also, I should note that potassium is found in most foods in varying amounts. Oh, and as how much an egg has in terms of phosphorus. So sodium is another one. So this is an interesting one. So sodium makes up salt. However, too much salt can lead to increased blood pressure, which in turn can increase our risk for heart disease and stroke. So even though sodium is really important for fluid regulation and also nerve impulse transmission, we do want to be making sure that we are not having too much salt in our diet. So it's currently recommended that we don't have more than 6 grams of salt. But in fact, I think as a population, we're having closer to 9 grams of salt. So there isn't really a recommendation for sodium because it's in so many different foods. Bread, cured meats, baked goods, sauces. So salt is used as a preserver, but also used in baking. So the majority of foods you're eating already contain salt. So that's just one to look out for, but obviously it is very important with with what I've previously mentioned, so fluid regulation and nerve impulse transmission around the body. Then we have magnesium. So magnesium is really important for energy production, also again with our nervous system function and muscle contraction as well. So good sources of this include avocados, nuts, and leafy greens. So if you were to have 100 grams of almonds, that would be a woman's daily amount. However, a portion of almonds is about 30 grams, so that's 81. So you can see you're almost a third of the way there. So that's just one to note. Then we have some key trace minerals. So iron. So iron is essential for making our red blood cells, and our red blood cells are what carries oxygen around the blood, in the blood around the body. Iron is also really important for immune and brain function, and is especially important in women of menstruation age, so typically between kind of teenage years up to the menopause, as each month we lose blood through our cycle. So making sure that we have enough iron in our diet is really important to prevent things like anemia, which is where you're not having enough iron in your diet. There are 2 different types of iron. So you have heme iron, which comes from animal sources, and non-heme iron, which is plant sources. So things like green leafy veg. This is some pork liver. So pork liver contains 100 grams of it, contains 13.9 milligrams. Obviously not a very popular food choice, but I just thought that was an interesting one to put out there for those of you that do like having liver. Then we have zinc. So zinc is important again with our immune system, also helps with our hormone production, and is also important for fertility. So sources of this include shellfish, red meat, eggs, and chickpeas. I've got a picture of mussels on the slide here. So 100 grams of mussels contains 3.5 milligrams. Lamb mince also contains 3.5 milligrams. So just a few more key trace minerals here. So selenium. So selenium is important for the immune system and making sure that it's working properly to help fight off bugs and diseases within the body. Also helps to prevent damage to our cells and tissues, and also is linked to the promotion of our reproductive health system. Sources include Brazil nuts, eggs, meat, and fish. And one fact I find quite interesting about selenium is if you just have 2 Brazil nuts, that is your total daily allowance of selenium. So that's quite an easy one to get in. Next, we have iodine. So iodine is important with our thyroid hormones. So our thyroid is linked to our metabolism, and it can be found in plant foods, but the levels may vary quite a lot. So you've got sources including cow's milk, eggs, sea fish, and also shellfish. Cod is a very good source of iodine. So 100 grams of cod, which would be about the size of a fillet, contains over the daily allowance. So that's another one that's a good source there. So how can we be boosting our intake? So you can actually boost your absorption of some nutrients by consuming them together. So I've got 3 combinations on the slide, which are things you could be having in your daily diet, which will help with your absorption. So the first one is vitamin C and iron. So they work closely together by boosting the absorption of each other. Good example of this could be having a glass of orange juice at breakfast, which would also count towards one of your 5 a day, and your Weetabix. So a lot of breakfast cereals are fortified with additional vitamins and minerals. Iron tends to be quite a common one. So if you have those 2 at breakfast, that's a good way of making sure that you're helping your absorption of some nutrients. Next, we have vitamin E and vitamin K and fat. So vitamin E and K are fat-soluble vitamins, and they are found in wholemeal sliced bread. And fat, so for example, peanut butter, so good, healthy, unsaturated fat. If you have the 2 of these together, that can also help to boost the absorption. And then lastly, we have vitamin D and calcium. So these 2 work closely together as well. For example, if you're making scrambled eggs, add some milk in there, and then when you consume these together, you should be able to absorb as much of the vitamin D and calcium as is available to you. Next, I'll talk about deficiencies. So I wanted to highlight this one here. So iron is one of the most common worldwide deficiencies, and about 30% of the population is anemic. And just to put that into UK terms, about a quarter of women aged 19 to 64 are actually eating below the recommended intake of iron. So that takes me nicely on to deficiencies and toxicities. So generally, our water-soluble vitamins are less likely to be overconsumed as they are excreted regularly through your urine. However, it's our fat-soluble vitamins which can build up over time. So iron is a key one here. So anemia. So symptoms of anemia are tiredness, lack of energy, shortness of breath, or skin being paler than usual. Having not enough vitamin A in your diet can increase your susceptibility of infections, and not having enough vitamin D can result in muscle weakness, also bone loss, and increased risk of fractures, especially as you get older. And then some toxicities, so having an excess of vitamin C and also zinc can cause nausea, diarrhea, and stomach cramps. So it's really important to make sure that we're having a balance of all the required vitamins and minerals and not any excess. If you think you may be deficient in any, do contact your healthcare professionals, your GP or your nurse, and they should be able to run some blood tests and see if you are deficient. And help you out there. But I wouldn't recommend diagnosing yourself with any deficiencies. Do seek professional help first. So next we'll go into managing your diet. So I've already touched on this a bit during the presentation, but essentially eating a healthy, balanced diet following the Eat Well guide should allow you to eat a sufficient amount of the vitamins and minerals without having any deficiencies. So as you can see here, our Eat Well guide, we want to be aiming for at least 5 portions of fruit and vegetables each day. So that's our green section. And again here, if we're trying to eat a rainbow, so different coloured fruit and vegetables, we're more likely to get all the different vitamins and minerals from the different coloured fruits and vegetables. Next, we have our starchy carbohydrates, so our whole grain or higher fibre versions are preferable here. Again, if we're having cereals, they're often fortified, so they can help boost our intake. Next, we have dairy and alternatives. So these are really good sources of calcium. And then also our protein here. So lots of the vitamins and minerals that I was talking about found in shellfish, red meat, eggs as well. So essentially having that balanced diet should make sure that we're not deficient in any areas. Of course, if you do follow a plant-based diet, vitamin B12 is likely to be one that you are lacking in. So next we have supplementation. So in some cases, supplementation may be required. I've picked out 3 which are very common and very commonly researched, but before starting any supplements, it's worth speaking to your GP or healthcare professional who will be able to advise you further. So first, we have vitamin B12. So it's not naturally found in foods such as fruit, vegetables, and grains. So as I've mentioned, if you do follow a plant-based diet, supplementation may be necessary here. Next, we have vitamin D. So supplementation is recommended year-round for those who get little to no sun exposure and also under 5s. And also those with darker skin may want to consider supplementation as well. And then there's lots of research to show that everyone else in the UK between the months of October and March should also supplement. So it's still that 10 micrograms a day. And this is due to the little amount of sunlight that we have during those months. So our body is unable to synthesize vitamin D. So that's why supplementation is recommended there. And then lastly, we have folic acid. So folic acid is recommended for the 3 months before trying to conceive and also up to week 12 of pregnancy. It can help to prevent neural tube defects such as spina bifida in your baby. But again, do contact your healthcare professional if you want any more advice on any of those vitamins or any other of the vitamins and minerals that I've spoken about today. So then lastly, we have 5 take-home practical tips that you can apply to your diet in hope that you can get all the vitamins and minerals that you need for a healthy body. So the first one, which I've spoken a lot about today, eating a rainbow of fruit and vegetables. As we know, different coloured fruits and vegetables contain varying amounts of the vitamins and minerals. So eating a variety can make sure that we're not missing out on any. Don't rely on supplements, so always opt for a food first approach whenever when you're looking at your diet, but some may be required in specialist cases. Make sure you're reading food labels, so when you're doing your shopping, things like cereals, you can check if they're fortified with vitamins and minerals and in what amounts, and you can make sure that you're able to get what you need. Linking back to the rainbow of fruit and veg and the Eat Well guide, having a varied diet, eating different sources of proteins, different carbohydrates, different fruits and vegetables each week can make sure that we're getting exactly what we need. And lastly, if in doubt, do contact a healthcare professional and they should be able to advise you further. So that's everything that I had to run through today. I have just got a feedback which I've put on the screen now if you're all able to scan it. I'll also put the link in the Q&A box. It would be really helpful for you to fill out this feedback because it helps us tailor the future webinars. This topic was in fact one that came up a couple of times in the feedback, which is why we've decided to look at it this month. So I will just put this in the Q&A. And then whilst people are doing that, if you've got any questions, do also put those into the box. And I'll just run through the other resources that we have available for you. So you'll notice on this poster is my face and also Leanne's, so you can contact us if you have any personal wellbeing queries, if you'd like to book specific educational talks to your unit or your site. We can also do one-to-one sessions, and we can also come and support with health fairs. Virtual solutions are also available. We then have our seasonal magazines, so we are about to release our autumn magazine. So if you would like to receive this, please do drop us an email and we can make sure that you are on the mailing list. If you got the link to this webinar sent directly to you, then it means you're already on the mailing list. So that's great. So watch out for that in your inbox over the coming weeks. And then lastly, you're all here because you wanted to attend today's webinar, but if there are any that you have missed, do go and look on our YouTube channel, We Are ESS, for any topics that you might have missed. We've covered things like reducing your plastic consumption, men's health, women's health, heart health, digestive health, lots of a wide range of different topics. So there's something out there for everyone. So I do recommend you going and having a look. I'll just bring our email slide back up whilst I come to the chat to see if we have got any questions. Someone has asked if it's possible to have a copy of the slides. So as the webinar will go up on YouTube, and I will send out the link probably when we send out the autumn magazine. So you'll be able to have it for reference there. So you can go back and look at it. So hopefully that is a good resource for you. I'll just give it another minute until past to see if any other questions come through. But in the meantime, thank you so much everyone for joining. I hope you found it interesting and you've got some takeaways, and hopefully for those of you that have come back to work this week, it's not been too much of a struggle and we can look on and hope to have success in the autumn. If there are any questions that I've missed or you'd like to email us as well, you can drop us an email and I can get back to you with the answers there. Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. I will close down the session.